the inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. Drugs, especially heroin, exert a terrible hold. Breaking that hold, retaking control of your life, is a complex and lifelong process, but it has to begin with a first step. For women with an addiction, becoming pregnant can sometimes be the spark that triggers the desire to take that first step, to begin to become clean and sober. In Cincinnati, the First Step Home in Walnut Hills provides not only a way to start the journey, but some special opportunities that increase the potential of long-term success. Local 12 anchor Liz Bonus recently reported on the approach of the First Step Home.
God, went to school, went to college after high school and got my nursing license and started taking prescription drugs from Mark.
What started with pain pills eventually led to a 10-year battle with addiction for Catherine Kelly. By the time she got to heroin,
I lost everything, my job, the car, I was homeless, my self-worth, my family.
She is now 7 months sober, she says, thanks to little Elijah. He was born 6 weeks ago.
I tried before and I would just have my whole outlook, my whole mindset is different.
It's different, she says, because of people such as Margo Spence and a team at a national model for new moms. It's called First Step Home.
We're the only certified drug and alcohol program in this community that allows women to bring their children up to the age of 12 into treatment with them.
While the need for all of the services they offer is soaring,
we especially see an increase in the number of pregnant opiate-addicted women coming through for services.
So from parenting care to daycare, they provide women the first steps to staying sober. Many say what sets them apart.
We have a philosophy of not judging, really trying to be supportive of what the woman wants to be successful with herself and her baby.
To discuss this special program, I am joined this morning by Margo Spence, the president and CEO of First Step Home. She's been there since 2001. Ms. Spence is a professional social worker who has worked in various capacities in alcohol and drug recovery programs before becoming president and CEO of the home. Lindsay Davis is a resident at the First Step Home. She gave birth to her daughter since she entered First Step Home last May. Both of you, welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you very much.
Really powerful story. As I was saying to you, Margo, that I didn't know anything about this until a little over a year ago and sort of stumbled into it because of a program I was connected with. So just so impressed. This idea, this approach of allowing mothers to either bring some children with them so that they can keep their children with them in the home, or after a child is born, keep that child and create that bond right away. Yes. How unusual is that?
It's very unusual, not only for the city of Cincinnati, but really for the whole United States. For us, it was critical for us to be able to allow mothers to bring their children with them because, of course, they want their children to be safe. And for moms, the children with them, that's the best environment to have. So as far as I know, we're the only certified program in Hamilton County that allows moms to bring their children up to the age of 12 with them into treatment and through our entire continuum of care of services.
And was that the way the program was set up right from the beginning?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We had a number of individuals that really felt the need to create a program like that back in 1993, and that has been kind of the gold standard for our community to make sure that that occurs.
Lindsay, for you, what was your situation before you reached out and decided to come to the First Step Home?
Before I came to First Step Home, I was 6 months pregnant. And like Kate had said in her interview, I had lost everything, to where I lived, you know, the car that I drove, you know, trust with my family, relationships with my family. So it just, I feel like I had no other way to go. So then I actually checked myself into Good Samaritan Hospital down here, and they then came and talked to me about First Step Home.
Oh, that's how you found about
Yeah.
it. You didn't just know that it was out there.
Right, no. And that's part of why I didn't go get help sooner. I felt like there was nowhere else to go, that I had nowhere to turn.
So at that moment, were you drug addicted? Or?
Yes.
Okay. And so you have to go through a process of getting clean.
Yeah.
And programs that are there. How important is it that since your little girl was born, and she's now almost a year old,
Yes.
how important has it been that you've been able to keep her with you?
Oh, it's exponential to my recovery to have her with me, because she is a lot of what keeps me going. Like, I have something to work hard for, to stay sober for, because I'm all she has other than my parents, you know. It's just mommy, so she needs me, and she needs me to be right.
Have you been able, since you've been there, to put the relationship back together with your family?
Absolutely, yeah. My mom and I are closer now than we've ever been, and you know, that's all she ever wanted, was to be close with her daughter, and that's what I want too, now that I have a little girl. So it's, I mean, this whole program has just, it's done a 360 in my life, and I couldn't be more grateful to you and everybody that's helped me along the way.
Okay. And Margo, this program, as I've learned about it, read about it, you have a pretty amazing success rate, which is a real challenge in this whole area of drug and alcohol recovery.
Yeah, for us, it's not just about staying away from the drugs. It's an entire approach. So it's about staying away from the drugs. It's about learning how to live a different way of life. It's about providing safe, sober housing for the women. And it's not a quick fix. It takes a long length of time for the recovery and staying sober. You know, it's about building a network for the women after they go through our housing as well.
Well, you know, it takes a long period of time.
Yes.
You've told me that you first started at First Step May of 2015.
Yes.
So you've been there a long time.
I have.
And how has that length of time been important to you in your recovery?
It's helped give me like a safe place in a way, you know. I know that I have them to fall back on if I needed somebody, but then like Margo said, a lot of it is networking too, like in AA and NA, which I'm a part of that also. So that helps a lot too, and then, you know, learning how to live without the drugs and the alcohol and all that stuff. So the length of time that I've been there, I'd say the more time I'm there, it just seems like more, you know, like I'm living my life like it's normal, but I have that to fall back on, and I do still go to attend groups and do things like that. I meet with my counselor, so it helps to have that to fall back on. But I know even if I were to leave and go live, you know, in my own place, that I could still come if I needed to talk to somebody. So
How important is the fact that, you know, you have these groups, and there's lots of group work and lots of programs,
Yeah.
but you're living in community with other women who are in similar situations. How important is that living in community part?
that's important to me, because I don't feel so alone, you know, like I don't feel like I'm the only one that has to do this, like, because I mean, there's days I get up, I don't want to do it, you know. There's days it's like, man, like, why do I have to do this, you know? But I know deep down I have to do it, and I'm going to have to continue to do this for the rest of my life. At least AA, NA, you know, program like that.
Right.
It just helps because it's like a family almost, like the girls that, you know, and I live with Kate, so I mean the girl.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so I mean we're a floor apart from each other, but we live in the same house, and it's just nice to have that kind of relationship with someone.
Margo, what's the capacity here? Because if people are able to stay as long as you believe that is necessary to get real recovery here, that's a lot of time, that's a lot. What's the capacity
Absolutely.
you can take?
Well, at any given time, we could provide services up to approximately 100 women. Now, we in our treatment facility, which is a 24-hour building, we can only have 16 women plus their children. As a result, we also have housing that we provide, that the women, once they successfully complete their treatment services, they step down into our housing units. And at this time, we have a total of 12 buildings.
Okay.
And probably within the next month or so, we're going to bring another unit, a 23-unit apartment building online, as well as a home for mothers that have just delivered their babies. It will be called the Terry Shaneling Home for Mothers and Infants, so that the moms will have an opportunity to bond with their babies. It will be an 8-unit single apartment suite
So you
for
have
those women.
the mothers. How many
Yeah.
children?
Oh gosh.
That's a factor
Oh my
too.
goodness,
Yeah.
yes, very much so. In fact, we probably have more children at any given time.
Sure.
If you're in our backyard, you'll probably be run over by one of the strollers, you know. But in our main building, we have about 12 children, and then a number of children in our other buildings.
Yeah.
So, you know, we try to be flexible with moms to be able to bring in all of her children into the program when we can accommodate with the space.
Lindsay, you were telling me that you have, during this time that you've been at First Step Home, you've also continued to pursue some education, correct?
I did. I went to the Ohio Media School in Madisonville for media, radio. Radio is what I went in with the intent, but as I told you earlier, I'm open to, you know, whatever. So, but yeah, if I wasn't in recovery, I would not have been given that opportunity. So it just, like I said, this place has just helped my life completely change.
So how is it decided when a person is ready to go out on their own and be back in their own apartment, not in the community setting?
Yeah, it's really based on the needs of each individual client, and I think that's what makes our agency very unique. So at the beginning, there's an assessment done on each client, also a treatment plan
Yep.
that's developed between the client and the counselor, and once those goals are met, then we have different levels that someone may move to. So it's really individually based.
In other reporting about recovery from drug addiction, I mean, that length of time is so important
Yes.
because so many programs, there's such a demand to turn people over
Yeah.
that there isn't a chance to really sort of build that new network and those
Right,
new
yeah.
habits. It's
Yeah.
an amazing part of this. I'm almost out of time, but sort of what's your direction in, you know, how do you see things folding out for you?
Well, for me, I plan to stay at First Step at least through the end of the year and hopefully get a job in media and, you know, go out and live my life, you know, like normal people do, and raise my daughter the best I can and
Okay.
stay sober, obviously. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations
Thank
for
you.
all of the work that you and your staff do.
Thank you.
And I mean, it's really important, and it's great to hear about this kind of program in our city. To get more information about the services provided by First Step Home, you can write to info@firststephome.org or call 513-946-4663. Stay tuned. After years of debate, construction and construction, and a mayor who tried to kill it, the Cincinnati streetcar is almost here. Join me for a discussion with the person who has worked hardest and longest to make it a reality. Cincinnati is a great city for theater, and there's lots of excitement about the new Shakespeare Theater that will open next year about this time in Over the Rhine. But hold on, those who love the work of Cincy Shakes has one more season on Ray Street. Welcome back. Those who are regulars at Cincinnati Shakespeare Theater, and I go back to a time when they really had great seats but totally uncomfortable, right there on the stage, know that besides Macbeth and Henry V, the company also produces more contemporary and often equally challenging plays. This year, the season opens with a production of The Diary of Anne Frank, which is adapted by Wendy Kesselman from a play by Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett, based on Anne Frank's diary of a young girl. Courtney Lucien plays the lead. Those who saw the production of Emma last season will remember her from that role. I am joined this morning by Courtney, who grew up here in Cincinnati but is now based in Chicago. This is her third season with Cincinnati Shakespeare Theater. She played the title role of Emma last season. Jeremy Dubin is directing the play. Jeremy has been with the company for 17 years and serves as artistic associate. He has played dozens of roles over the years on the theater stage, not to mention a role in Miles Ahead, one of the movies recently produced in Cincinnati. When Jeremy walks onto the stage, everyone in the audience knows where the center of energy will be. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Thanks so
As
much.
somebody who's enjoyed your work for literally 4 years since you came to town.
Thank you very much.
And very much enjoyed your work last year and in the last 3 years. So why this play? Why opening the season, how you open the season is important. Jeremy, why this play?
Sort of the impetus for this came several months back. There was a photo that went viral. I'm sure lots of people saw it, of this a young Syrian refugee boy whose corpse washed up on the shores of Turkey. And Brian Phillips, the artistic director of the theater, saw this photo. And Brian has a son who's about that age right now, and he was sort of viscerally shook by this image. And it was out of that he said, this is a story that we need to tell now. This is still going on. This is happening now. We have to tell this story. We can do something about this right now. And that's what it came out of. And very sadly, since we've seen more images coming out of Syria that just sort of reinforce how important it is that we can do something. And telling the story maybe will help impel people to do that.
The little boy in the back seat of the ambulance in Aleppo.
Yes.
As reinforces that. Courtney, did you read The Diary of Anne Frank when you were in school at some point?
I believe that I did, although I cannot recall. So my first encounter was actually visiting the Anne Frank house when I studied abroad in my junior year of college. And so I got to tour and that was sort of really the first time that it was
And we're talking
really
about in
real.
Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam, yes. I traveled there from London, where I was studying abroad. So I can't recall reading it, but I do believe that I did. But no.
So getting ready to do this, what do you do? What have you done to get yourself in the right place, emotionally, mentally?
Yeah, it's rather difficult, I'll be honest. But I've read so many books for over the course of, I would say, about 4 months. I started with The Diary, and then I read that twice. And it did take a look at the script a little bit earlier on than I normally would. I usually like to compile as much information beforehand, but with this one I sort of needed to have that on hand. So I took a look at the script early on and then read novel after novel and other accounts as well. So I read part of another diary from another woman that wrote during the war, trying to get sort of a sense of how Anne was different and why this is so big. And then watched documentaries and interviews and read articles from other Holocaust survivors, sort of trying to compile as much information as possible. And then from there, taking a look at the script and Anne's life and her family relationship and all those sort of things, I was able to, find the personal connection for myself. Yeah. Which is now the biggest part of the rehearsal process.
Jeremy, from a director's point of view, there's all the technical stuff that you have to worry about, the blocking and all of that. But what about helping get people, and how many actors or actresses are in the play?
13 total.
13 total, okay. Yeah. How do you bring people together around the sorts of issues that Courtney was just talking about? Sort of not just the lines, but what's behind the lines?
Well, one of the first things we did was on the second day of rehearsal. we took a trip as a cast to the Center for Holocaust and Humanity Education here in Cincinnati, which is this wonderful institution that has unfortunately suffered from kind of the same thing that's plagued Cincinnati Shakespeare for a long time, the idea being the best kept secret in the city. Not a lot of people know that it's out there. It's this wonderful gem. So we went out there, and this place is dedicated to telling the stories of people from the Holocaust. This number, 6 million Jews that died. It's such a big number to try and wrap your head around. It's almost too much to comprehend. But they're specifically sort of focused on Cincinnati people, people with Cincinnati connections who had some sort of experience, were affected by the Holocaust. So we all went out there. They took us through this tour, which was incredibly moving and very informative. And then we also heard a survivor speak on that day. And I think just doing that really for the cast sort of informed how important the story was.
Makes it immediate and personal.
Yeah.
It's an incredible. I've often referred to the Mapping Our Tears exhibit as the best exhibit in Cincinnati that is squirreled away and people don't know about it. And in fact, you've partnered with the Center for Holocaust and Humanities Education, and there are going to be 2 survivors who will speak, one before, one after the plays. And we've got the dates up, and I just want people to know about this. And if you get tickets, you might want to get tickets for one of the nights. Shakespeare Company has partnered with the Center, and one of the plays will be the opening night, Saturday, September the 9th at 6:30. Conrad Weiner, the survivor who was in the booty camp, and then on Sunday, September the 18th, after the matinee, Al Miller, who grew up in Berlin in the 1930s, and his story sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, and I also want to mention that we're opening that to anyone who has come to see the show, so whether or not you're seeing the show on that day, if you want to come and hear the speakers, come bring your tickets, and regardless of what day you've seen the show, you can come and hear the speaker. And it's a tremendous opportunity to get to come and do that.
Courtney, you're very young, but you're not as young as Anne Frank.
That's correct.
So that's another thing you have to deal with. You have to make it real on the stage.
Absolutely.
That it's her mindset that you're in.
Yes. And that's been a challenge. That's something that obviously Jeremy is helping with, because that's the reality of the situation, and that's part of the acting process. And that goes back to my preparation. So I watched home videos of myself at age 13.
Oh,
and
really?
And I went back and found my own diary entries, which were not at all as exquisite as Anne's writing. But I was trying to figure out for myself, what was I like at that age? And the more that it's in your body, and the more time we have in the rehearsal room, the easier it is, I feel, to tap into that sort of youthfulness, and I have that within me naturally. So I think that's part of the reason, perhaps, why I was cast in the role. I think it's there. So it's
for those people who are not totally in touch with Anne Frank, I do have some basic information that we can put up on the screen about her life. And one of the really, she hid in the attic in Amsterdam. Here we can see her, and born in 1929. He had 1942 to 44, exposed in 1944, sent to Bergen-Belsen, and dies just a few months. We don't know exactly when. Dies just a few months before the liberation. So still very young and incredibly sort of different story here. So as theater people, what do you hope the audience experience here is? What are you trying to do?
I think, hopefully, as I was saying earlier, if we can begin a conversation, if we can, impel people to action again, because there was actually an article that came out just yesterday, an op-ed piece in the New York Times, saying that Anne Frank today is a young Syrian girl. That we can see these things, see these stories, and go, okay, right, there are parallels. These things are going on. And one of those haunting questions, I think, that came out of the Holocaust is, how could people know what was going on and not do anything? Right. And so I think it's a great question to be asking right now. And if we know things are going on in the world, how can we not be doing anything? And what can we do to help? So to experience that, I think, is wonderful. But I think it's also worth mentioning that though it is a story with the Holocaust as the backdrop, there's also so much warmth and humanity in it, and hope. And Anne herself was just such a vibrant young woman.
Right.
She was so self-aware, so funny, and so to get to see all the wonderful things.
Unfortunately, I'm out of time, which means people should go to the play.
People should go to the play.
If you want to go to the play, you can call the telephone number at, this is the box office, 513-382-2273, or check out the website at cincyshakes.com, and it runs from September 9th to October the 1st. Thank you for making Newsmakers part of your Sunday morning. Next week, the focus is on the opening of the Cincinnati streetcar. What impact does it already have? Where are we going from here? Have a good week.